The first thing I would do is I would get a really good outfit so when I'm interviewed on the news with my house burning behind me, I'd want to look really suave.
Okay.
The Mercedes-Benz Interview Lounge.
Hey, have you ever been to a party and you meet someone and you end up talking to them, just, oh, nice to meet you too. And then an hour later, you're still talking to them because they're the most interesting person in the room? The answer is yes. I'm going to answer for you. Thanks for all just paying attention. The answer is yes.
Nate, you're so excited.
Okay, thank you, Nate. He's got a crush. So Kyle, in my opinion, Kyle Creek is that guy. He's been on our show before. He's been interviewed on Gandhi's podcast, Sauce on the Side, right?
Yep, coming up.
And he's here. And you may know him as the Captain if you're following him online. He's a writer, a creator. He's a poo stirrer, the stirrer of poo. Kyle, welcome back to the show.
Thanks
we appreciate
for
you
having
coming
me.
in. A self-instigator, self-proclaimed instigator.
That's the right word.
Can I point something out?
What?
Look at Nate's look.
Okay,
I think he's trying to look just like him.
I don't know what microphone he's on.
So
the tip.
What?
So our captain here has, the nice hat and the nice beard. And Nate's trying to do the beard and the hat lately. Where's the tats? Soon you're going to have the tats.
I'm working on it. Is that obvious? I'm trying to imitate someone?
I'll tell you what, let's let everyone hear him, and they'll find out why you have such a crush on him.
I'm just here to test how
Back
straight
to
Nate
you,
really
Kyle.
is.
You remember what he said?
What did he say?
He said he's here to test how straight Nate really is.
Wow. That test will show it with a little line on it, like a little COVID test. Anyway, so you have books out about almost any and every topic.
It seems like that at this point. I mean, I wrote the history books initially, but I've done like the satirical books, children's books, self-help style books. I'm currently working on a long, in-depth memoir. I'm ghostwriting for a celebrity client. I have
Who's
a
that?
novel.
Ooh, name him.
I can't tell you that.
Yeah, you can. Come on.
His name's Robert Foe. He's a celebrity tattoo artist. He actually owns Skin Design Tattoo down in Soho.
Oh, maybe you did tell us who it is then.
But yeah, I can tell. Yeah, I was just trying. I mean, he won't mind, but he's a phenomenal individual. I met about a year and a half ago, and he has an incredible story about coming from Cambodia as a refugee during the Khmer Rouge genocide, and now he's a vastly successful celebrity tattoo artist. So
wow. But now you have a couple of kids' books out.
I do. I have two out. I have William is a Weirdo and Sarah Lives in Space. And I actually had the idea for both books when I was living here in New York back in 2017, but I always just kind of shelved them and put them aside for a while.
So with these books you've written, what kind of gear do you have to shift into to write a children's book? I mean, what's it like as a writer to make that pivot?
I mean, it's probably the same gear I've been in for a long time on Twitter because it's just like short, snippy. What can I make rhyme? How can I communicate a point in 144 characters or less? So it's kind of the similar style, but definitely toning down my language because that's kind of what I've been known for online. And then also it's fairly hard to take a complex subject and distill it into something that a child can understand, but also a parent enjoys reading. And the reason I finally did the books because I became a parent myself, and people gave me all these books, and I've been reading them to my son. And they sucked. I didn't even want to read them. Like, they didn't rhyme right. I thought you'd get to the end of the book and be like, there's no message, there's no story, what's the takeaway? And I was like, my dad actually illustrated them. I told my dad, I said, we got to finally do these books because all the books that I'm reading right now, aside from Dr. Seuss and the classics that I loved as a kid, I think a lot of the books now are just garbage.
But taking a very complex topic and turning it into something that will engage with a kid, that's the magic.
Yeah.
Those are the best books, and I bet you master it.
I mean, I hope I do. I mean, the coolest thing is my son started bringing me my books to read to him, and I never pushed them on him. They were just on his shelf because I had copies, and he started bringing, Sarah Lives in Space particularly. He'd bring that to me to read him every night, and that was kind of just, one of those moments that was very surreal that, someday he'll be old enough to realize the book's dedicated to him, but, at the time, he just naturally gravitated towards it. And all my friends that have kids are always sending me photos of them reading them to their kids, and they tell me, oh, we have to read this book twice every night or he won't go to bed. And that's just,
wow.
It's been cool to hear that.
I love hearing that. This is why Gandhi, another reason why you and I need to have kids.
I would rather just write the book.
I'd like to have 10 kids at this point. I mean, there was a time in my life I was deathly afraid of being a father. When I found out I was going to be a dad, it scared me. But now that I am a dad, I totally understand why people have 10, 15 kids. If I could financially support a family that size, I would. I think it's awesome.
Well, come up with more kids' books. I hear it's a very lucrative industry.
It's actually not, but yes.
That's what I was going to say. Is there more money in kids' books or in adult books?
For me, adult books for sure, because that's
Okay.
my audience. If I put out an adult book, I know it's going to sell because I've kind of gained that notoriety, and the children's space is new to me, and there's a lot of people. I mean, it was very hard to get people to publish them because I don't have that background. But if you can get a successful children's book, like you will sell millions of copies. for
Harry
sure.
Potter. How about that
Yeah.
one?
Yes.
Hey, so
idea.
Hey, so speaking of writing and being published, you do a lot of self-publishing. Like these two books are in front of me right here, Speech Therapy, and feel free to quote me. But you said you just sold one of these to a publishing house.
I did. So I've done that twice now.
Which one?
I just sold Speech Therapy to a publishing house. But with my history series, I self-published those originally too, and eventually Penguin Random House, caught wind of them and wanted to buy the rights off.
How
me. But
cool.
I've self-published everything I've done. I've never actually had a real book deal. I've never had someone give me an advance to write a book. I've always wrote a book and then tried to sell it, and people have said no, so I self-publish it myself, and then 2 years down the road, they see how well it sells, and they buy it off me, which has been nice because I kind of get a double dip. I make all my self-publishing income, plus I still get an advance. So, I mean, it's not a career path that I would recommend people go down, but it definitely has worked for me.
Absolutely.
How do you self-publish? Like, how do you do that?
Oh, Amazon's made it so easy these days.
Amazon.
Amazon
Really?
Direct. All you have to do is get a PDF together and design your own cover, upload it. It could be selling within 72 hours.
Wow.
And there you go. See, that's the thing. Anyone out there who's a frustrated writer who just can't get picked up,
Yeah.
pick yourself up.
Exactly. I mean, I tell
Amazon will take you.
Yeah.
I tell it to writers all the time, though, especially if you have an audience and you feel like you can move some copies. I mean, self-publish that, and if it does sell well, you can absolutely resell it to a publisher. And I mean, there's benefits to both. The cool thing about self-publishing is there's no money up front. Most people buy books on Amazon anyway, so why not go direct to the source? But there is something nice about going into a bookstore and seeing your books on the shelves and stuff, which you need a publisher to get that kind of distribution.
All right, so you're going to have Kyle on the podcast today. Like, what instigating will you be? Like, what menacing instigating will you be doing on your podcast? with
I'm
Kyle?
not an instigator.
Yes, you
You
are.
I'm
very
not.
much are.
Excuse me.
Absolutely, you are.
I'm playful. I'm not an instigator, but I have so many questions for him, which I guess I can blow them all now.
Yeah, blow them all now.
Well, I mean, I want to know, like, where did this all come from? Obviously, you started as a
Let's
writer.
answer these questions when I can swear, though.
Save it for the podcast.
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, I found you years ago, and I've watched your following just explode since that point. How does that happen? Where did that even come from? Like, what
It's
is
funny because I actually took social media off my phone the first this year. I haven't been on social media at all really the past 4 or 5 months, but it definitely made my career. And it started kind of as a joke. I was working as an advertising copywriter, and I was writing a lot of TV scripts, and I would write jokes into my scripts that clients would think cross the line. And I'd be like, that joke's too good. I'm not going to let it die. I'm going to start putting it on Twitter. So I started just tweeting like my concepts and observations that I didn't think my clients would take. And those started taking off for me, and eventually got to the point where my Captain following, and I used the name The Captain because I didn't want it to interfere with my professional career, because at the time I was just very grateful to have a job in copywriting, because as a writer, it's one of the few places you can make good money. And I didn't want to, say something that was too outlandish and, risk my actual paycheck. And so I had that Captain kind of veil for a long time, and then eventually it got big enough to where I was in a meeting one day, and it was with like some high-level asset managers of a Ritz-Carlton property I was working on as a creative director. One of the guys leans to me and says, "Hey, my wife and I are big fans of your work." And I thought he was talking about like my advertising portfolio. And he's like, "No, we follow you on Instagram. We love it."
Oh, busted.
And I had like this total like where my worlds kind of collided. And then I started getting work because of my social media following. And I actually left my advertising career, and my social media following became my career. And it wasn't like something I ever planned to do. It just happened that way for me. But really, it was just that repetition. I mean, I probably was tweeting or writing something every day for 5 years until I made any money as the Captain.
Wow. Now, Gandhi, you brought him to us. What was it about the Captain? What was it about Kyle that hit your nerve that made you go, okay, I can relate. This guy's very interesting?
So based solely on what I saw on social media, because I didn't know him, I thought he seemed very authentic and true to himself, and he said a lot of things that I think a lot of people are thinking, but they don't want to tweet into the world. So I would just retweet them and repost them all the time. And the irreverence and the cursing and the rhyming, like all of it goes together in a nice little package. But when you say that you really started to make your living on social media, so you gave up the other job, how stressful is that?
Incredibly.
Because
I think
social media is a
the
monster.
past 5 years have probably been the most stressful of my career, but they've also been the most rewarding.
Exactly.
But when you only have yourself to rely on, or I only have book sales, or I only have this next book deal, or I'm starting to get back into doing a lot of film and TV work, when you only have that to rely on, I mean, it's feast or famine. I mean, a lot of creators can relate to that. You'll have years where you do really well, and then you'll have years where like you go 6 months and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage right now. But I think during those times you develop that kind of character that'll make you a better writer. I think, particularly with my book, Speech Therapy, I mean, a lot of that stuff mentioned there is stuff that I experienced myself. And so I'm actually going to be re-releasing that, and I'm using a lot of what I've experienced the last couple of years for this new version, because I have dealt with that stress of being a father and being a provider and having financial instability at times.
Let's talk about it. I mean, for instance, first of all, Speech Therapy is going to be published. When is the release? Do you know?
So you can still get it on Amazon.
Right.
I don't know when the new one's going to be out. Probably later this year. I'm thinking around December is what they're going to shoot for, but I don't have an exact date.
Everyone, let's hold off till the big one comes out.
No, buy the new one now. Buy the one I currently have up on Amazon right now, because that's money directly to my pocket, because it's still self-published.
Okay, all right.
So buy that one for sure, but then also buy the new one when it comes out.
I love how you say, and for everyone who's ever experienced something in life that made them say, hey, what the F, why is this happening to me? And then you go through the table of contents. Down in the dumps after being dumped. Your take on that. Money misery. A furry companion destroys a possession. What do I do? Laid off, fired, lacking desire. So you put your Kyle spin on all of these.
I mean, essentially the whole thing is like, if I had a buddy come to me at a bar and ask me for advice on something that happened to him, like, what's the little quick conversation I'd have with him? What would I tell a friend of mine? And it's the idea that, like, we have these little things that happen to us in the morning, like you can lose your keys, and if you don't quickly get on top of that, it can derail your whole afternoon and your day, because you just carry that frustration into your whole day. And for example, like a breakup, I've seen friends go through breakups and they get over it in a month. I've seen friends who 3 years later aren't the same person. They still haven't recovered from that. And the whole book is just kind of getting on top of your thought process and trying to put halt something in its tracks before it really derails your day or your week or your life.
Help me out with this one though. I mean, going through a breakup is a major thing. Having a bankruptcy and no money is miserable. But this chapter is your favorite plant took a dirt nap. So this is telling you how to get through the loss of a favorite plant.
That is devastating.
It's funny because there's actually people that are really affected. And I think the thing there and the kind of premise of that one is when you invest time into something and you care for something, whether it's a plant or a relationship, and it comes to an end, it still is kind of a grieving process. And it's a joke that it's a plant, because a lot of people are like, oh, that's just a plant. But if it's something that you've taken care of every day for 7 years, like I have a buddy who's got a greenhouse in his house and he is obsessed with his plants. Right. And I know, they're rare, and he, ships them in from all over the world. I know when he loses one, it actually really bumps him out. And so I just figure other people probably experience that too.
I am devastated when I lose a plant.
Oh, you do?
I'm devastated.
Because you're a plant woman.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's because you don't have kids. If you had kids, you'd be like, I got something else to care about.
I don't know. You know what? I don't know. That's why I don't have kids.
But that's the
I'm not
purpose
sure.
of this chapter. If you have kids and or if you have a plant, I mean, there are parallels there. I get it.
Yeah.
Your house is literally on fire. I want to read this chapter.
That's a good chapter.
Have you ever lived in a house that was on fire?
No, but I know the first thing I would do is I would get a really good outfit, so when I'm interviewed on the news with my house burning behind me, I'd want to look really suave. Okay. I actually, for a long time, I had like my fire outfit picked out.
Really?
Like if something happens, I'm going to be on the news, I want to look just as hot as that fire behind me. So
or hotter.
So I recommend like you have an outfit ready to go. It's your get out of the house outfit, because there's going to be someone interviewing you in the news, and you want to look slick.
Being interviewed, fire? What fire?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a fire.
It's this jacket I got on.
Okay, I have something that's completely off topic from this. But when I first met you, it was at Jingle Ball.
Yeah.
In Miami, which is not a place that I would have thought I'd see you backstage hanging out. What were you doing backstage at Jingle Ball?
Yeah,
My buddy Davey brought me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I met Davey when I lived here in New York, and you guys are good friends.
Do we know Davey?
Davey Dyer.
I know Dave Dyer.
Yeah.
I've known Dave Dyer since he was
He's a really good friend of mine.
little Davey Dyer.
He told me to say hi to you guys, actually. He was. I was going to try and hang out with him last night, but I think he was at some charity
You're a
benefit.
Dave Dyer guy. Because I'll tell you right now, that really says a lot about you, because Dave Dyer is like the hippest, coolest guy you'll ever meet.
The funny thing about Dave and I is we had a mutual person trying to introduce us for like 2 years, but we both thought that mutual person was kind of like scammy. And so we're like, all right, if they're friends with them, it's probably not a good person.
Yeah.
And so like 2 years, we avoided each other, and they kept trying to link us up, like you guys would get along. And then finally, I think Dave emailed me directly one day, and he's like, all right, finally, let's just get this over with. Come meet me at a bar. So I met him at a bar down in the East Village, I think, and him and I stayed out to like 3 or 4.
He's awesome.
That's awesome.
But I know, but it says a lot about that guy you thought was scammy, but this person actually has something good going because they understood.
No, the person definitely was, but
okay, all right.
But no, like we've had that talk too, and I told him, I was like, the reason I didn't want to hang out with you is because of so and so, and he said the exact same thing. So that person definitely was, but him and I connected, and we've been really good friends ever since. And so he knew that I had recently moved to Florida, and he was down there for that Jingle Ball, and he wrote me, and he's like, hey, I know it's not your thing. And he even knew that. He's like,
it was weird, right?
He's like,
It's like
Did
the
you
Jonas
know any
Brothers.
of the music or anything?
no, I mean, I recognized like one song, but he was like, I know it's not your thing, but I'm only there for a night, and I'd love to see you. And I was like, all right, I'll come out. So that's what it was.
See, now I love you 4 times as much because Dave Dyer to me is like one of the night. If you're listening right now going, who's Dave Dyer? Well, I'll tell you now, you always have that guy in your life or friend in your life that's you just want to be with them, and when you are with them, they're cool, and you see pictures. He's smoking a cigar with his pug. He's always like the coolest guy.
He
right?
is though, and like Davey's one of those guys that I told him, I was like, you need to write a book. Like you have such a cool little backstory, and your life is just so interesting, and you have such a great way of telling stories. Like you need to, when you get into your, kind of like sunset years, you should write a book about your life. And I've loved Davey, and I actually cherish him as a very good friend because even when I have been through like, some times of my own that I was struggling with, I remember Davey. Are you calling him? I remember he came out to LA and we had hung out together.
Why not?
If he doesn't pick up, I'll call him.
Hey, we're talking about you on the air. You're live. Do not use foul language.
Well, that's not going to be easy, but I'll do my best.
We're interviewing Kyle Creek, the captain. Right now, we're talking about you.
That's my guy.
I'm glad you guys are friends because if we love you as much as we love you now, we love him as much as we love you as well.
Oh, my gosh. It's a circle of friendship. I love it.
I had to remind him who you were, though. They didn't remember, so they're not that
Not true. This is recorded. We will win this battle.
They were like, Davey who? Davey who?
All right, we're hanging up on you. Love you.
Kyle, if you want to know why they don't remember me, it ain't because we didn't hang out. It's because what we were doing when we were hanging out.
Okay.
Okay.
Well.
Cliffhanger. All right, I'll call you back. Bye. All right, love him. But anyway, so we were at Jingle Ball, Y100's Jingle Ball in South Florida, and Gandhi says, you got to come here with me. I went, why? You got to meet this guy.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's here.
Yeah.
This is not his scene at all. You got to come meet this guy. I went, who?
Yeah, I felt like I hit gold because there are all these celebrities back there.
I didn't know. Davey was telling me who they all were. I was like, I don't know any of those people.
It's okay, and that's fine. That's fine.
And for the most part, we'll sit in the corner, hide in the corner. But then I see this. How tall are you? Like 6'6"? 6'6", yes.
Damn.
This giant person with a tropical shirt on and this massive beard, and I was like, I think I know who that is. Elvis. You gotta come say hi with me.
And I don't know who.
Yeah.
I know Dua Lipa over there.
Yeah.
And I remember you were wearing a super cool like skull jacket, I think.
Yeah, I got a couple of skulls.
Yeah, that was rad.
Hey, look. Okay, let's sell some books. Okay, you go onto Amazon and you search for Kyle Creek.
Kyle Creek or the Captain, or you can just type in speech therapy and it'll all come up there.
Buy everything he sells.
Yes, buy them all, especially the self-published ones.
And I tell you, and when you do the self-publishing, as you did, you chose the black cover with the white writing. When they all are together, the entire catalog on your shelf, it looks cool.
It does.
Because you have like this, everyone's going to go gravitate toward the black books and go, oh, let me tell you about the Captain. And look, we got to sell some books.
I appreciate that.
5%. Come on.
Okay. I will give you 5% all day if we sell it.
Wow.
All right. Well, okay.
This is my goat fund. Like whatever I make from these books, I'm trying to work on getting some goats at my place down.
Okay.
Down at my house now, so I need money for some goats.
If
You need
get
goats.
the goats, can we come touch them?
Absolutely.
Yes.
That sounded really creepy.
It did sound very creepy.
I meant it
Can
to.
I touch your goat?
Yeah.
But the thing is that we weren't talking about the kids' books at the time, so it's not as bad.
No.
So let's start with speech therapy. If you need to go one book at a time, speech therapy is a good start.
I think it is a good place to start.
What's that tattoo say on your arm?
Which one?
This one. Oh, turn it over. Oh, that's what it says. I'm not even going to tell you what I thought it said from over here.
Tell me what you thought it said.
C-O,
Yeah, it says luck is for losers.
says luck
And then
is
I
for
have
losers.
Ashley tattooed on the other wrist, and I don't even know an Ashley.
Oh.
But I've dedicated all of my books to Ashley for many years.
One day
So
you'll
right
meet
there
her.
for Ashley, even though she continues to ignore my advice. But that's probably like the 10th book I've dedicated to her.
Wow.
I think we all have an Ashley.
I mean, I was at a bar one time, so the guy was like, you have a lot of tattoos, but you don't have someone's name tattooed on you. And I was like, he's got a good point. So I just Googled crazy white girls, and Ashley was number 1 on the list.
Hey,
And I was like,
congratulations,
I'm gonna
Ashley.
get that. I'm gonna tattoo it. And I told the guy, I was like, I want it to look really crappy. Like I want it to look like I got it done in jail. It doesn't need to look nice like the rest of my work. And the guy that did it was like, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm getting off after this, and we're gonna go party.
There you go. The body is a gallery.
Oh my God.
All right, look, we gotta roll. Kyle Creek, follow him or the captain. Just do it, and keep listening to Gandhi's podcast.
Yeah.
As you should be doing anyway. Sauce on the side, because he will be a guest very soon.
Yes.
It's great seeing you again.
Thank you very much for having me.
Do you want to hang out with your boyfriend Nate?
Yeah, we're gonna go get lunch after this,
That's
right?
right.
Oh, God.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
We were gonna go talk tanks, I think.
Oh, so cute.
we literally were.
Kyle, save yourself now.
Really,
So
you're
cute.
tank talking?
We were talking about tanks.
Yeah, his friend's got a tank. How cool is this guy?
You have a tank?
My buddy in
Like
St.
a
Louis,
fish tank?
My buddy in St. Louis bought an actual tank.
like
what
a
Like
fish
a
purpose?
decommissioned military tank.
Oh, not a fish tank.
Not a
No,
fish
he's got
tank.
he's got a legit military
Well,
tank.
what does he do
Why?
with it?
He just has 200 acres and was like, why not? I can get a tank with his tank.
He just blows crap up. All right.
Nate.
Can you like shoot the gun and everything?
It doesn't have the mounts on it yet, but he's going to get one for sure.
Yes.
He's that kind of person.
Amazon sells everything.
Oh my God.
All right, Kyle, thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
The Mercedes-Benz Interview Lounge.